Market crash? Health crisis? Rising rent? These aren't hypothetical, they're the curveballs life throws, especially when you're living on a fixed income in retirement. So here's the real question. If something big happens tomorrow, do you have cash you can grab without dipping into your investments? One financial safety net protects you from all three. When markets tumble and uncertainty rises, cash becomes your best friend. But for retirees, emergency funds work differently than they do for working adults. Why? Because you can't just pick up extra shifts when money gets tight. In this video, we're tackling the retirement cash cushion question head-on. How much should you keep liquid? Where should it go? And when should you actually use it? By the end of this video, you'll have a recession-ready plan tailored specifically for retirement life, because your peace of mind shouldn't ride the economic roller coaster. For working adults, the standard advice is simple: keep 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash. But when you've left the workforce, those rules go out the window. This is where the 1-2-3 formula comes in. 1 year of essential expenses in cash gives you true recession protection. Think about it. When markets tank, you need enough runway to avoid selling investments at rock-bottom prices. But what exactly counts as essential expenses? Start with the big four: housing, mortgage or rent, healthcare premiums and out-of-pocket costs, food and utilities. Add transportation, insurance, and any debt payments you can't postpone. Leave out the nice-to-haves like travel and restaurants. That's what your investment portfolio is for when times are good. Let's look at a real-world example. Meet Martha, a 68-year-old retiree living in North Carolina. After tracking her spending, she found her essential monthly costs totaled $3,000. Using our formula, her recession-ready cash fund should be $36,000. Now, this isn't just arbitrary advice. According to a 2023 Morningstar retirement study, retirees who maintain 24 months of expenses in cash during the 2020 market downturn were 87% less likely to deplete their portfolios. That's the difference between weathering the storm and potentially running out of money in your later years. So, you've figured out your target number, but keeping that much cash under your mattress isn't exactly a smart move. And letting it sit in a regular checking account? That's like leaving money on the table. Let's break down your options, starting with the most liquid and moving towards slightly less accessible but higher-yielding choices. First up, high-yield savings accounts. These online accounts currently offer around 4 to 5% interest, compared to the national average of just 0.45% at traditional banks. That's a serious difference. On Martha's $36,000 fund, that's an extra $1,600 per year just for choosing the right account. Next, we should clear up a common confusion: money market accounts versus money market funds. A money market account is bank-based, FDIC insured, and works a lot like a savings account, but often with check-writing privileges. A money market fund, meanwhile, is an investment product that typically yields slightly more, but isn't government insured. For most retirees, the safest approach is keeping the majority in FDIC-insured options. Speaking of which, this is where CD ladders come in handy. Take John, a retired 72-year-old teacher. John built a 12-month CD ladder with $30,000, placing $10,500 in CDs that mature each month. He's earning around 4.5% while ensuring he always has cash becoming available. If no emergency hits when a CD matures, he simply rolls it into a new 12-month CD, keeping the ladder going. The great news? The FDIC's current insurance limit of $250,000 per depositor means most retirees can safely keep their emergency funds in insured accounts. And if you're married, that limit effectively doubles to $500,000 when you have joint accounts. Now let's talk about timing. How do you know when to beef up that cash position? While nobody can predict recessions with perfect accuracy, several warning signs tend to flash before economic downturns. Watch for these key indicators: an inverted yield curve, when short-term treasury bonds pay more than long-term ones, rising unemployment numbers, and falling consumer confidence. When these signals start appearing, it's time to gradually increase your cash holdings. This is where the bucket strategy really shines for organizing retirement assets. Picture 3 buckets: cash for near-term needs, bucket 1, moderate risk investments for mid-term needs, bucket 2, and growth investments for long-term needs, bucket 3. During normal times, your cash bucket might be 10% of your portfolio, but as recession signals increase, you'd shift that up to 15 to 20%. Maria, a retired 65-year-old accountant, saw this play out beautifully. When she noticed economic warning signs in 2023, she shifted her portfolio to increase her cash bucket from 10% to 15%, which protected her when markets fell 20% 6 months later. While her neighbors were panicking and selling at the bottom, Maria slept soundly knowing her essential expenses were covered. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, the average recession lasts about 11 months, which perfectly supports our 12-month emergency fund guideline. That's not coincidence. That's smart planning based on historical patterns. Having an emergency fund is great, but knowing when to actually tap into it is just as important. Let's be clear about what qualifies as a true emergency. Major home repairs that can't wait, like a leaking roof or broken furnace in winter, absolutely qualify. Unexpected medical costs not covered by Medicare or your supplemental insurance? Definitely. Family crises that require your financial support or unexpected travel? Yes. But what about when the stock market drops? This is trickier. Generally, market fluctuations alone aren't a reason to tap your emergency fund. In fact, that fund exists precisely so you don't have to sell investments during downturns. That said, market crashes can sometimes present rare opportunities. Take Robert, who retired in 2019. During the 2020 market crash, Robert kept his 12-month emergency fund intact, but used an additional $10,000 in cash to buy quality stocks at a 30% discount. Those opportunistic purchases later grew to $17,000 when markets recovered. But here's something that doesn't get talked about enough: the psychological benefit of having untouched cash. A Vanguard study found that retirees who maintained separate emergency funds were 65% less likely to sell investments at market lows. Why? Because they had the emotional security of knowing their immediate needs were covered. That peace of mind is worth more than any interest rate. Remember, the goal of your emergency fund isn't to maximize returns, it's to be there, reliable and accessible, when life throws you a curveball. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but what about inflation? Won't keeping too much cash hurt me long-term? You're absolutely right to be concerned. Cash might be king during recessions, but inflation is the silent thief that slowly steals your purchasing power year after year. The trick is finding that sweet spot, enough cash for security, but not so much that inflation eats away your future. Historical data shows that retirees need approximately 20 to 25% of their portfolio in cash and cash equivalents to weather typical recession cycles without being forced to sell depreciated assets. Beyond your core emergency fund, consider inflation-fighting alternatives. I-bonds, for example, are government savings bonds designed specifically to protect against inflation. Their interest rates adjust with the consumer price index, ensuring your money keeps pace with rising costs. Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, work similarly, but as marketable securities that can be bought and sold before maturity. Susan, a 70-year-old retired nurse, found a perfect balance. After building her 12-month emergency fund in high-yield savings accounts and short-term CDs, she allocated her remaining assets to inflation-fighting investments like TIPS and dividend-paying stocks. This strategy ensured her long-term purchasing power wouldn't erode while still keeping essential expenses covered in case of economic downturns. The key is to understand that your retirement portfolio isn't just one big pool. It's a strategic allocation designed to meet different needs at different times, with protection against multiple threats from market crashes to inflation spikes. Let's bring everything together. We've covered a lot of ground today. You need about 1 year of essential expenses in cash to properly recession-proof your retirement. The best places for that cash include high-yield savings accounts, money market accounts, and CD ladders. all FDIC insured for safety. Watch for recession warning signs to adjust your cash position accordingly. Use your emergency fund for true emergencies and maybe occasional market opportunities if you have extra cash beyond your essentials. And finally, balance your cash holdings with inflation-protected investments for long-term security. Now it's your turn to act. Here's your simple 3-step plan. First, calculate your essential monthly expenses, just the must-haves, not the want-to-haves. Second, assess your current liquid assets against your target. How close are you to having that full year of expenses covered? Third, reallocate as needed to reach your target emergency fund, considering the different account options we discussed. Remember this, your emergency fund isn't just money. It's peace of mind that lets you enjoy retirement regardless of economic conditions. It's the foundation that makes everything else in your financial life possible. If you find this information helpful, please hit that subscribe button for more retirement planning strategies tailored for today's economic realities. Got questions or suggestions for future topics? Drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. And don't forget to download our free worksheet for calculating your personal emergency fund target. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and here's to a secure retirement, no matter what the economy throws your way.